a whirlwind.
I completely understand. Mine was kind of the same. So,
hi, everybody.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of people joining, kind of like, looks like from all over different places. Yay! We're so excited to see you here, everybody. We can't wait. So we're going to try to make this as fun as possible, the least amount of boringness as possible, and just have a lot of fun.
Lots of fun. Lots of fun and some really good information that we think you're going to find very helpful in your healing journeys.
Yeah. 1 second. Somebody was just having a problem. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of get started. I'm going to start. I think a lot of you here probably know a lot about me, but maybe some of you do not. So I'm going to share a little bit about who I am. So I'm Dr. Campbell. I'm a traditionally trained psychiatrist. I went through normal medical school and psych training, and then I ended up working in an emergency room in New York City. And I was prescribing psychiatric medications. And eventually I got to a point where I was just totally, utterly burnt out. I myself, my physical health was horrible. My mental health was horrible. And I was on about 20 different medications and feeling like crap. And actually how it ended up happening is I knew that I wanted to have kids. So I went and I saw this more holistic doctor, and she basically said, you know, you could totally have kids if you were able to get off all these medications. And so that was just the inspiration for me to do that. But at the time, I didn't know anything about getting off psychiatric medications because we don't learn that. So as psychiatrists, we have zero training in getting people off. All we learn is how to put people on psychiatric medications, but nothing about getting them off. So I ended up doing my own version of a taper, which I would have done differently, knowing what I know now, and using a lot of different holistic interventions to get myself better. So changing my diet, and quitting toxic habits, and starting to meditate and things like that. And the long and short of it is I was able to get off all of the medications, and basically all of these physical symptoms and problems and issues that I had completely disappeared. All of the mental, the anxiety, the panic attacks, the suicidal thoughts, all of that disappeared. And at that point, it just occurred to me that I could no longer walk into that emergency room and prescribe people these medications knowing what I knew. So I ended up quitting that job and then went down a really, really long rabbit hole, actually, of reading books, reading studies, going to different conferences, taking different courses, learning about naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, and decided that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to do what I now call holistic psychiatry. So I founded Free Range Psychiatry, and that was about 6 years ago. And at first I was sort of just offering people different holistic options and alternatives to medications. But eventually what really became my niche was people coming in, trying to go off of psychiatric medications, but struggling enormously, like beyond anything that I could have ever imagined that someone could go through. And so that sort of became my niche, actually. And since then, that's what I've been doing, essentially, is working particularly with people, helping them to get off of psychiatric medications. And I'm actually going to stop there, and I'm going to let Dr. Demir do an introduction, and then I'm going to circle back, because basically what I've been doing at Free Range and how we've been helping people was sort of one specific approach. And now, as of approximately like maybe the past like 8 months or so, we've been using this new modality, NAD+, which is what we're going to talk about today. And it has literally just changed the game when it comes to helping people get off psych meds. So I'm going to stop there, and then Dr. Demir can give her introduction, and then we'll go back into NAD.
I'm so excited. This is just like getting my juices going so much. I'm so glad that we're starting to do these lives. Okay, so my story. Yeah, I was just reflecting on, as you were talking, Kendra, I was like reflecting on how deep to go with this, because really it's like, you know, we could go down so many rabbit holes of like systemic imprisonment, you know, chemical imprisonment, and just so many other directions. But just the short of it, essentially, I was raised by a doctor mom. Through that process, I think that I was psychologically groomed to go into medicine. And then by the time I found myself properly in medicine, in medical school, later on then psychiatry residency, I started realizing that we're just like doing things so wrong. Like this is really, it can't be this way. And then I left conventional medical psychiatric training actually on my third year proudly. Like I remember actually at the time telling my partner, if I finish this and if I get this stamp of approval, I'm actually going to be disappointed in myself because of the atrocities I saw, essentially, the 3 years that I was in inpatient psychiatry, and then later on outpatient. But it's just a revolving door, right? Like once you're in, you don't have a way out. And now, since leaving conventional medicine, finding Dr. Campbell, doing the fellowship and being in this world of like psychiatric medication, taper, cessation, withdrawal, and all of the things that it involves, I'm getting even a deeper version of like the atrocity that it actually is. And then, you know, when we talk about like children, like medicated children, I'm now like starting to see, you know, Prozac Nation children now in their 20s, 30s. And it's like, well, yeah, like what have we done? So in that, finding something like NAD, but for the last 3 years that I've been involved in this work, I've been realizing like, man, this is so slow though. Like it's, you know, we're just making these tiny little cuts and like all of the other holistic modalities that we utilize, but still like there's a level of physiologic dependence that if we could have a way to deal with it, then like we could just move so much faster. And given how many people are dealing with this, we can't really afford to actually be moving in like incremental kind of ant steps, right? Because it's a really actually a big thing. And we haven't even hit the pinnacle of like what a big problem this actually is at a societal level. So I'm really excited about NAD. I started using it myself now for a couple of weeks. And I read a bunch about it and I'm just so impressed because I see it like physiologically, I can see what I am reading matches with my bodily response. So yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, sorry, I had a thought and I think I lost it. But basically, yes to everything that you were saying. And same thing that, you know, in this past 6 years of me doing this work at Free Range, like I don't even have words for what it's like to, and what a gift and an honor it is to be with people on their journey off of psychiatric medication. And how, like, you know, this process, all of the other interventions that we have used so far, the other holistic things, they do work. They work significantly. Yes. However, it still is this, for many times, it's such this slow, painstaking process. And I've had that thought so many times that I'm only one doctor, there's only 2 of us, and there are literally millions of people out there. And if you do the math, millions of people having to move, you know, each one of them taking a couple of years, like it's just crazy when you think about like the need that's out there. So to talk a little bit about NAD. So I first started hearing about NAD, again, I think it was probably about 8 months ago. So I literally wrote this down because I always forget what it stands for. It stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
I said it to myself like 50 times when I was learning. I was like, how do I remember this?
It's a lot easier to just call it NAD. So it's pretty amazing. So NAD, this is what's so cool about it. Unlike like some of the supplements that you might take, for example, like you might take like St. John's wort or olive or ashwagandha or some other type of herbal supplement. Those are not things, of course, that are found innately in our body. So the thing about NAD is we have NAD literally in every cell in our body. It's probably, it's a coenzyme, and I could probably say, not even probably, I could say it's the most important really thing that we have that exists in our body, because it essentially provides the energy and works with the mitochondria in our cells so that all of our cells can function and do what they need to do. Without NAD, our cells would just die, essentially. They wouldn't be able to exist. And then another really cool thing is that NAD actually can affect our DNA. It can affect the speed at which our telomeres shorten. And just so we all might not know about telomeres, so telomeres basically are these things that we're born with, and there are certain lengths when we're born. And then as we age, they get shorter and shorter and shorter. And essentially the theory is that once the telomeres get to a certain level of shortness is probably when we're going to die. And so NAD can actually stop that. It can stop the telomeres from shortening. And that's why NAD probably was first, or was mostly being used in the beginning as like this longevity thing, like people wanted to kind of live longer. And it does do that, and it does that well. However, it has like 8 zillion other benefits too. So, and then circling back to the DNA, what's so cool is I think a lot of you may know about what our epigenetic changes, right? So we have our genes, but our genes aren't really what matters, actually. The genes are kind of like, how I describe it is, our genes are like a menu, right? It's like a menu that you would get at a restaurant, and you have all these different choices. But it's the epigenetic stuff that actually determines what you're going to order off the menu, right? So if you're ordering like things that are not going to help you off the menu, then the product is going to be like maybe a disease or something like that. But if you're ordering the things that you need to order off the menu, then there's going to be health. It's kind of the best way that I can describe it. And so NAD actually has an epigenetic effect on our DNA, which is powerful. I mean, that's everything, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit, and I have a list right here because I knew I would forget. I'm just going to go through a list of just some of the other things that NAD does. So it is neuroprotective. So basically that means it protects our brain and our nervous system. So it can actually protect us from getting things that would otherwise happen, like, insults that may happen. It protects them. Like I was saying about the mitochondria, it increases the cellular energy. It also has significant effects on mood regulation. And that's what I'm going to circle back to when we're talking about sort of using NAD to get off psych meds. And it will balance neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine and things like that, but not anywhere near the same mechanism we're talking about what psychiatric medications do. Mm-hmm. So what psychiatric medications do is literally like this rough Band-Aid effect, whereby you're actually changing things, and ultimately your body's going to function worse because of the way that psychiatric medications work. They don't work with your own physiology. NAD actually works with your own physiology so that the output is not a chemical imbalance, right? Because psych meds, as I always say, cause a chemical imbalance. NAD does not cause a chemical imbalance. So other things that it improves are cognitive function. We know that it increases anxiety and depression. Big thing that it does is that it improves sleep. It decreases inflammation, which many of you know that inflammation is essentially at the core of all disease, like pretty much all disease, all physical and mental disease. There is an element of inflammation that's causing it. It boosts your energy, and I can say that's a big one. I myself have used NAD now many times, and it works really, really well to boost the energy. Also improves skin. It protects the brain from neurodegenerative diseases. So things potentially like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or ALS or things like that. There is this protection of the brain from getting these types of diseases. It improves cardiovascular health. It can help with weight loss and weight maintenance. And it's been used a lot for people who are who have an addiction and are in recovery. So that's a short list of some of the things that it does. I forgot to mention to everybody, we're gonna leave plenty of time here for Q&A. But if you can use, I think like the Q&A, I think you have to click the question mark or whatever it is so that your questions show up there. That would be amazing, because then we can see them all in one place. And we're gonna go back and we're gonna leave plenty of time to ask, talk about this. So, okay, so just to talk a little bit then, narrow in on the use of NAD so NAD has been used a lot in the sort of like addiction world, like as a method of detoxing people off of like things like heroin and morphine and cocaine and other things like that. It's been used like that for years. And it's just probably in the past couple of years, I think that it's being more and more popular in the use of coming off of psychiatric medications. So just to give some examples of basically when you are using the NAD, in conjunction, and this is my belief, and it does have to be also done in conjunction with like a full holistic approach. And I think a lot of you know what I mean by that, but I mean like, you know, working on the, you know, healing of your trauma and doing, you know, your habits like meditation and exercise, moving your body, grounding, taking, eating a healthy, you know, eating a healthful diet, replacing any nutrient deficiencies, things like that. So while used in conjunction with that whole sort of holistic approach, essentially what NAD can do is mitigate and sometimes completely eliminate any withdrawal symptoms. And so probably all of you know what withdrawal symptoms are, but things that, you know, that we see a lot from psych meds are like brain zaps, body pain, nausea, vomiting, vertigo, you know, weird electrical zaps in your body, all these things, in addition to the so-called psychiatric or mental things like, you know, the anxiety, which can be just off the charts, right? Panic attacks, which are really common. Not sleeping, which is possibly, I would say, the #1 most common thing that happens during psych withdrawal is not sleeping. So NAD can actually, again, mitigate and sometimes even completely eliminate those symptoms altogether. So that's sort of one area. And then the other thing is that it allows you to do a taper much more rapidly than you would do without NAD. So for example, my approach has always been at free range before having NAD was my max would usually be 1 decrease a month. So we would, and sometimes for some people it ended up being every 3 months or every 4 months, just depending upon what was going on. But in general, like at once a month is the fastest I would go. Now having NAD, we can do things in like days to weeks. Like things that would take months to years can be done in days to weeks. So, I mean, I don't even have words to describe. I think all of you can imagine like how significant that is. So yeah. Yeah, maybe if you wanted to add anything, Zainab, and then we can go to some questions too.
Yeah. I'm like, especially like antipsychotics and benzos with these, this is like revolutionary because with these medications, because the rebound hypersensitivities are so strong and they come on so hard that like we could only move minuscule doses and like really establish that it's okay, that we can do this, which can literally take years, like years, no joke, right? So this is amazing. I mean, I feel so excited because before I felt so much like, I mean, like, let me step back. I believe so much in the holistic healing approaches that are not physiologic. I think that those are at least like 60% of the game, right? But without being able to do the initial 20 to 30%, which is physiologic dependence, you can't even get to the other ones. So it's like you're sitting there waiting, okay, let's get to enough of the dose cut so that like the holistic approach is you can actually sit down and meditate because you don't have akathisia, because you don't have this severe anxiety where you feel like your world is just crumbling in front of you every minute. You know, you can go outside and enjoy a walk rather than like doing it just because you feel like you got to heal this way, but you're really not enjoying it. So having this it's just a game changer that's like on a scale that's, we don't even totally understand it, I think, yet, because it is still so new. But this could change everything about psych med withdrawal, like everything. So I'm really excited. I'm so excited.
Me too. Let's see. It says, oh wait, I had said it had 8 questions and then it said no questions yet. Let's see. That's weird. I see a question, I pop up. Let me see. But then it says no questions yet. Can anyone answer? Has anyone sent in questions? Or just putting anything on the thread?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm seeing. There's questions under the thread, but yeah, let's just maybe scroll back and see.
There. Okay. Wait, now it's saying 2. It's so weird. It's like giving me the alert that there's questions, but when I click on it, it says no questions yet. Okay, so we can do some scrolling.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling up here. I just saw one that says, is it rectal or
If you see
IV.
one.
Yeah. Is it rectal? What is rectal NAD as helpful as IV NAD? We could start there.
So weird.
NAD digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes. No herbal magnesium.
Yeah, so I could answer the question about like the formulation. So there's different formulations of NAD. So you can take it just orally, right? So there's just oral. Then there is IV, and then there is transdermal. So my experience is that the oral NAD may have some benefit, but it's not the full benefit that would be. It's not the full benefit. It's still, if that's the only thing that you have access to, I would take it. Like it does have some benefit, and so if that's the only one that you have access to, it's worth taking. I would say it's hard to say. Some people respond really well to the patches. In particular, we work with someone who uses these transdermal patches where the where the NAD is actually made fresh and then frozen. So it's like this very, very high quality. And I know that she's told me in her experience that some people respond really well to the patches, and I have seen that as well. But I have also seen that I think probably the most significant, the most impactful is the IV. That's the one that I think gives the greatest impact, I would say.
I didn't even know there's a rectal formulation.
And I'm not familiar with the rectal formulation.
I'm not either.
There's lots of people that do rectal formulations. There's companies that's all they do is make rectal formulations of certain things. So maybe that's a thing. But no, I wasn't familiar with that one.
Cool. Here's one. I think this is a good one. What about kids with PANS who don't get better with herbals or antibiotics? My son is a raging mess for 7 years, tried everything. They just put him on Abilify. Do you want to answer that, Kendra? Or?
Yeah, I could definitely answer that. So I want to say that I personally have never used NAD with pandas, so I can't tell you based on like I've done this and however, I can tell you that based on everything that I know about the mechanism of how NAD works,
yes,
hell yes, it would be helpful. And mostly because the real issue with pandas, what it comes down to is the neuroinflammation, right? That's what it is. Essentially, is neuroinflammation, and NAD that's one of the top things that it does is decreasing. It decreases neuroinflammation, and it's even neuroprotective. So it can even protect your brain from anything from happening. So I would suggest that would definitely be something to consider for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I think too. So when we think about like the mechanism of action of what NAD is, I can't really imagine. Although someone is saying right now here, keep reading of NAD linked to cancer.
No.
Yeah, I'm not aware of it either. But,
I'm not aware. I've delved pretty deep into the literature on NAD and also into like the adverse effects. I've never heard anything about it causing cancer. I think I might know what reference you're talking about though. It was like maybe one specific type of cancer. I don't know, but in general, no, NAD is not going to be a risk of cancer that you need to worry about. Now, if you have cancer, I think it would be worth considering and definitely talking to your doctor based on whatever type of cancer you have.
I think what you're referring to, what I read once when I was reading the literature, there is like cancerous cells, once they have formed, they create higher levels of NAD within themselves.
Yeah. So
that's a thing. But it's not like a causation of exogenous NAD. Exactly. It's just the nature of the cancer itself, which would make sense because that's how the cancer is providing energy for itself to grow. This is literally like when you follow the B3 vitamin cascade, this is one of those elements in the biochemical breakdown that just plugs into the energy creation of the cells. So it would make sense actually that a cancer cell would also take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Let's see. 2 years off Prozac, tardive dyskinesia until dose lowered. Yeah, like this, a case like this, I think for sure trying NAD and then seeing, like, because it actually, you notice it. When you use it long enough, you start noticing the benefits yourself. So it's not even he said, she said anymore. Like you actually have personal experience.
And this one, will NAD help constant withdrawal symptoms even after time has passed? Yes. Even if you stopped taking the meds years ago and you're still having this protracted withdrawal, yes, it could definitely still be beneficial. And again, the idea here is that if we could, which we can't, but if we could, stick a little needle in you and measure your NAD levels, we're not able to really do that effectively. But if we could, we would see that you would probably have very, very severely low levels. And so all we're doing is replenishing those things. So I think this is just a really important point of, that we're not just like giving you some random thing. It's literally giving you something that your body is depleted in, so that your body can function normally, so that it has the thing that it needs to function normally,
This is like, it's like magnesium. Like a lot of you are very familiar with magnesium. Like magnesium replenishment is necessary, and it takes a while, right? You got to take it at a certain dose for a certain period of time so that you start actually running at a surplus, because you've fed all of the necessary processes enough. Now you can actually gain the benefit of having the surplus of this, which at a healthy physiologic state you would have.
Yeah.
And so this is like physiologic homeostasis restoration.
Yeah.
It's not like a synthetic medication of any sort.
Yeah. That goes in and distorts your body's normal functioning, which is like SSRIs do, for example. That's why they cause so much harm, is because they're going in and literally changing your body in ways that's very unhealthy and causing these imbalances. I see some people asking about like where to get it. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So this is my number one frustration. So NAD is like this wonderful thing, but then when it comes to what I have to tell you about how to get it, it's a little bit more complicated. So if you're looking for the patches, the NAD transdermal patches, I can link you guys to a website. It's called NADconcierge.com. It's a colleague of mine. Yeah, you can share it as a link there. This is a colleague of ours who we know very well. And I can tell you without reservation that that's the highest quality transdermal NAD that you will find anywhere. The person who runs this business is somebody who had been in the NAD business for many, many, many years, and is very meticulous about the quality of the product. So for transdermal, that would be a place to go. I think Zainab is frozen there for a second. And then when it comes to IV, that's the tricky part. So the way that most people are going to be able to get it is to find an IV clinic somewhere in your area. Now, in big cities, there's almost all of them have these clinics now. In smaller cities, not so much, so you might have to travel. One good thing is that a lot of them now are offering mobile services, which is nice. So they can actually come into your home and start the IV, which is a little bit nicer than having to go into the clinic. However, the big but here is that unfortunately, I don't personally know the quality of all of the thousands of NAD clinics in the world. So I can't tell you, even if you said, how about this clinic or how about this clinic? I don't know. I've worked with a handful of them, but I don't know. And I don't have a good way of evaluating them, right? So my best advice would be to just sort of check out the company, get your vibe. If possible, somehow, if you could find somebody who had used that clinic and you know that it worked out well or something like that, sort of word of mouth, and things like that is probably your best bet. The other thing is that we can, at free range, for a certain, we only have space for a very few certain number of clients, but for a very few certain number of clients who are a good fit, we actually have a colleague that we work with who can actually come to where you are and give you IV NAD. And I know that the quality of that is really high. And plus, in addition to getting the IV NAD, you get a whole bunch of other things with that. And that's sort of mostly in like our concierge program that we have. So that's another option. And I will say that, so I'm in Costa Rica, everybody. And for those of you who missed it in the beginning, and I'm actually in the process of setting up a clinic here in Costa Rica. So soon, if you feel like flying to Costa Rica, I'm going to be offering NAD, IV, and actually a whole bunch of other things, a whole bunch of other interventions, like in the very near future. And maybe like months or so down the line, my ultimate goal, actually our ultimate goal, Zainab and I, plan on actually creating a center or a clinic here in Costa Rica where people can come and get the whole kit and caboodle. So you would get all of the holistic approaches that we would normally use. So all the interventions that we would normally do, they will be like, you know, meditation and yoga, trauma stuff, sauna, like all different types of things, using PEMF and all these different devices and modalities that we use, and in conjunction with IV NAD to essentially get people off of psychiatric medications rapidly in a beautiful, luxurious environment. So that's our ultimate goal. We're just working our way to that.
Yeah, I'm so excited about that. Once we're able to do that, you guys, it's going to be, oh my God, because yeah, that's going to be amazing. But that'll be a little bit longer. Yeah.
And PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic frequency. So it's essentially using these very specific frequencies to restore your body to like, well, it has different functions actually. The one that I use is called the cloud, and it has different functions, but essentially it can move you into a deep parasympathetic state. It can also allow your body to, it can shift your body into like what we call like heal mode. So one of the biggest things that I hear from people just like online is, I do all the things, I take the supplements and I'm exercising and I'm doing all this stuff, yet I'm not seeing any of the results. And I find that about like 90% of the time, the reason that somebody is not seeing those results is because their body is stuck in sympathetic, right? So we have the sympathetic system, which is the fight or flight system. We have the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. You cannot heal. Your body will not heal. You can't heal a cut. You cannot heal from psych med withdrawal. You cannot heal anything unless you're able to be in a parasympathetic state. So if you're in your sympathetic land, eating your healthy foods and doing all your stuff, it's great, but you're not going to see the results. And so one of the reasons why I love the PEMF is that it can actually get you into that state. It can shift your body into a state of healing. So then all of a sudden, all these things that you're doing, you're going to suddenly see that you're going to get all the effects from it. So it's pretty cool, neat little tool. Yeah.
Yeah. That is also another really exciting thing. I got another like a vagal nerve stimulator too. But like what you're doing with the cloud map is just like that on like steroids, gabillions.
Exactly.
Which is amazing.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
also
and
another
I have one of those too. I have the Apollo Neuro, which actually I gotta say, guys, it does work. But if you're interested, I do use it. I have noticed that my heart rate variability has like skyrocketed since I've been using that. So I am a proponent of using that device. But yeah, it's like that's like pennies. And we're talking about like millions of dollars with regards to the mat. It's like, yeah, it's just so much more. It's more rapid, more intense, more deep, all full body experience. Like literally, they call it the cloud. It's actually spelled with a K, K-L-O-U-D. They call it the cloud because when you're laying on it, you feel like you're floating on a cloud. Yeah.
I can't wait to try it.
Yeah. I still see. Oh, there we are. I found the questions now. Yay! Okay. I'm going to go through some of these questions since people put these in. Okay. What if I haven't experienced withdrawal symptoms yet? Should I obtain NAD to prevent it or help taper faster? The question that I would want to know is, maybe the reason that you haven't experienced withdrawal symptoms yet is because of the speed that you're going, or you haven't gotten to like the dose. For some people, they're able to decrease their meds, and then at one magical point, that's when the withdrawal symptoms come in. But I would say if it was me personally, I would, yes, I would try the NAD to prevent it. And I would say whatever the speed of the taper is that you're doing currently, you should be able to see that with the NAD on board, you're going to be able to do it. You're going to be able to taper more quickly. So it would be a win-win. Is NAD like a pancreatic digestive enzyme? I wouldn't call it like it's not similar to a pancreatic digestive enzyme, but you're saying I saw it was absorbed through the skin of the feet. Yes. When we use the transdermal patches, we usually do it on the bottom of your feet because it can be absorbed transdermally. But these patches that we use, it's got this like special little electrical device in it that helps to facilitate the process of the NAD sort of being absorbed through the skin. Another one was, how quickly would one taper while taking NAD, and do you know the start at the same time? Good question. So what seems to work best is, sorry, I want to move this down, is actually we like to do, before any medication changes are made in the very beginning, we like to start the NAD, usually for a couple of days, with the goal of getting your NAD levels up. And then once your NAD level is up, then start making the cuts. I will say, and you know, this is the question, the $1 million question for everybody is like, how long is it going to take? It's kind of impossible to know. It's just, there's too many variables. There's no way to know. For some people, it's just based on the response, right? So you get your NAD levels up and you make a cut, and then you see what happens. Some people, nothing happens. Like literally, they don't feel anything. So for those people, maybe a couple days later, you're going to do another cut, right? Versus somebody who, you know, you do the cut and then there's just still a lot of symptoms going on. In that case, maybe you need to increase the NAD, maybe you need to wait longer. So based on those variables, it's impossible to quote in the beginning how long it's going to take. But I can just say that, I can say with pretty much total confidence that the speed will be shorter if you're using NAD than if you weren't, you know.
And a lot of this also, I think, depends on like how long you've been on what medication, what dose, right? So because that's going to correlate very strongly with like where your endocrine system is, where your gut system is, where your immune system is, how long is it going to take to replenish? These are all very, very individual variables for sure.
Yeah, like what is the state of your health and nervous system going into it? Yeah. Let's see here. There was another one. Someone said, no other psych meds now, depression, anxiety, aka inner vibes, terror, take CBD, magnesium, and glycinate. Yeah, so this would be, I would say that, first of all, it's good. I agree with you taking the CBD and the magnesium glycinate. Those would be my recommendations. But this would definitely be a case where I would try some NAD. That could actually help. So that would be, So, oops, I got some requests. Oh, hold on a second, okay, y'all. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Is that it? Oh, here we go. Oh, won't let me accept. Sorry, guys. I'm new with this technology. Oh, there's some people there, but can't seem to accept them. I don't know why it's not letting me. Okay. Sorry to those people. Okay. Sorry, whoever that is that wasn't able to get in. I apologize. Okay. So somebody said that they're freaked out by the needles. Is the patch similar to the NAD? So to the transdermal. So yeah, like I said, I think for some people it can be just as efficacious. but I will say that I think that the IV is probably more efficacious,
Oh my
more
God.
powerful.
I think you just added someone else into the.
Did I?
Yes.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
so
we have a third.
sorry. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Now I have to figure out how to undo that. I
I
apologize. Uh,
think that was the request. Yeah.
let's see. How do does anybody know? Can anybody tell me how to change this?
Let's
Sorry,
see.
I'm new to doing these.
Let me see. Um,
I see it join.
you can just probably leave, actually. You can just leave.
Oh, yeah. If you could just leave the
If you
chat.
could,
Yeah,
yeah,
leave
there
it
you
and
go.
come back. Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah.
We're learning, y'all.
There's a learning curve for us, y'all. We're not millennials. Okay, let's see. Should I detox my parasite, heal gut prior to NAD? You don't have to. You could do it either way. Yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't use the NAD first. Yeah, you could go either way.
It would probably even possibly help you, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Given that like a parasite cleanse and all of those cleanses are not entirely easy for the energy stores of the body. So if you're replenishing concomitantly, theoretically speaking, it might help.
Yeah, agreed. And someone is asking about healing a TBI. I have not read the studies on TBI. Have you read any studies with NAD and TBI? But I have read them in regards to dementia. And I've seen they're like significant process of reversal of dementia. So yeah, I can't say particularly for TBI. Again, knowing what I know about how NAD works, though, that it's neuroprotective and all these different things, like I would assume that it is going to, but I can't tell you that I haven't read a study specifically on that yet. But it would definitely make sense. And I want to just add here, I want to just say this too. So in medicine, we talk about like the risk to benefit, right? And we talk about how big is the risk and how big is the benefit. And then that's how we decide. Like, so for example, with psychiatric medications, right? So here's the thing with psychiatric medications. The possible risk is ginormous. It is monstrous. It is huge. The risks are it's just so enormous, right? And then the possible benefit, like the chance that you're going to benefit from them, is actually very small, probably less than 30%. And I'm saying benefit in question in quotes because actually the benefit that you get is not necessarily the benefit.
Natural benefit.
Yeah,
it's just a band-aid.
Like
you can go
out,
on for a little bit.
Yeah, turning yourself into a zombie and numbing yourself out. Like, yeah, yes. I mean, in some levels that's a benefit, but yeah. So that would be for psych meds. Like, so for NAD, it's literally the opposite. Okay. So the potential risk is like pretty much zero. It's pretty much one of the safest things that you can do. Like there's pretty much minuscule, if not zero risk to trying NAD. And the potential for benefit is ginormous, is huge, right? So this is why our healthcare system is so upside down, right? We're giving people these things that have like really high risks and very little potential for benefit when we have these other tools that are, high benefit with very low risk. It's
just they don't make as much money.
Exactly.
Like in a systemic level, I'm not saying, like NAD actually does cost quite a bit of money, but like in a systemic level, it doesn't make sense to have people get better, right? Because then like, well, they don't need you anymore. Versus psych meds and all of that stuff. But one thing I was going to say is like understanding the mechanism of action of what NAD is, presumably like this would help with anything.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just helping your body restore its stores to do its daily activity. And anytime, like eating food is an inflammatory process for the body, but your body needs the fuel that way, and it has the ability to just restore that inflammation and go on with its day. And so you're just helping it do that. Similarly, like with a TBI, that's going to be very much the same line of things, where the more you have resources to restore the damage, you know, the better it will be.
And I want to add and give it a little example here of, so this is how we've been brainwashed by the traditional medical system, right? There's this brainwashing that for each disease, it's, you need this certain pill, right? There's a disease, you need this pill. There's this disease, you need this pill. And for your body, right? If you have a problem with your foot, you go to the foot doctor, and you go to the, you know, neurologist, right? So everything is like divvied up, right? And the fact is, that's total bullshit. If you understand how the body works, everything is connected. And so that doesn't make sense. This whole one pill, one cure, it doesn't make sense. And actually, I recently saw that somebody had made a video, like a whatever. They had taken one of my videos and then duetted with it or whatever. And they were making fun of me because they had downloaded some of my free resources that say, this is how you heal ADHD, this is how you heal OCD, blah, blah, blah. And they were pointing out that there were so many similarities in the different things. And they were pointing that out as a bad thing, which is hilarious, because I'm sitting there going, actually, that's the fucking point, guys.
Exactly.
This is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
This is, we have it backwards.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way that it is. Like, one thing can actually do multiple things. It's the idea, but that's not profitable.
No.
What's profitable is to say, I have this one pill that works for this one thing.
Yes.
And so we talk a lot about, Zeynep and I talk a lot about how when we're working with our clients at Free Range, you know, a big part of what we are doing, in addition to getting people off psych meds, is sort of like getting them sort of like deprogrammed from the system, and just like, you know, because there's so much programming and brainwashing. And so that takes a little bit of time to let some of that go, so that you can open up your mind and start thinking in a sort of different way, you know? Yeah.
That's so my experience too.
Yeah.
With everyone that we're working with. I mean, I that's how I actually frame it to our clients, the ones that I see. You know, coming off of psych meds is a very small part of actually your healing journey. When you consider what your healing journey all entails, this is the beginning. This is the physiology heavy part that's very important. But like, there is so much more to healing in terms of deprogramming, in terms of really like seeing, well, how am I really operating in the world? And what am I creating for myself, right? And how is like the system and my family and my lineage and all of these things play into this program in which I'm operating, where I'm not feeling healthy and happy and vital. Yeah.
And it's a letting go. And like a video I recently made, it is like this spiritual awakening, which if any of you have had a spiritual awakening, you will know, like, that sounds nice, but actually they're pretty brutal. It's a pretty brutal process to go through. Like, it's pretty crazy, because you almost have to just completely come undone, you know, and then put the pieces back up and put them together and make them whole again. It's like and that can be pretty rough, but also beautiful, you know?
So beautiful. I mean, a lot of my clients say that, right? They're like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. And the truth is you are.
Yeah.
And the truth is you have to lose the mind that you think you have to have another mind. Yeah. And we're all made, and, you know, we've not made, but like, we are all part of cosmos to experience that, to be able to shed and then grow into new skins that you don't recognize. That's okay. That's a good thing. That doesn't mean you're just losing everything and you have nothing left. Although that limbo period, I think, is very uncomfortable, because you haven't fully shed and you haven't fully become.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing and hard to navigate. Yeah. But it's beautiful when you actually step into it and you allow yourself to experience it in all its rawness. It's like nothing else.
Yeah. Okay. We got a bunch more questions here. I'm just trying to scan through. Somebody asked, can you titrate up on NAD to see how you respond? Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's often how we do it. We don't start with the highest dose. We'll start you out on a lower dose and then titrate up to see what is your sort of threshold level. So yeah. Is NAC the same as NAD? No, NAC is another supplement that can be actually helpful for a lot of things. It's N-acetylcysteine, but it's a different molecule.
Can you here? I'll type in the. Someone is asking for the web. There we go.
Somebody is asking about SPECT scans, just to give my quick response. And generally, SPECT scans when I think SPECT scans, I think of Dr. Amin and Dr. Amin's clinic. I'm trying to say this in a nice way. I'm not a fan of the SPECT scans, and I'm not a particular fan of him and his clinic and how he does his work. I think some of the research that he's doing and his mission and a lot of things about him are awesome. But at the end of the day, I don't think that what he's doing is so beneficial. So a SPECT scan, it's really sexy because it's like this, oh, you get to see this beautiful, version of your brain and you can learn so much. And that's great and everything. But what I see is that, like, what is the utility of that? And I had a patient one time who went and got one of the SPECT scans, and then he brought it back to me, and I got to read the report and everything. And it was just very unhelpful. And also he was recommending medications. He uses medications with his clients. Doesn't use them as much as probably most psychiatrists do. He's a little bit more whatever, but he still does use medication. So ultimately, my whole question about anything is, like, what is its actual value? And yes, it's pretty and nice to see how your brain looks, and it maybe can be a little helpful, but if that's not leading to a effective solution or something that you can do, to me, it's not worth. I think they charge like $5,000 to $10,000 or something like that. I can think of many better ways to spend $5,000 to $10,000, including spending it on NAD. Like if I had if I had 10 grand, I would drop it on NAD in a heartbeat. It would not go with a SPECT scan. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Someone said to pin it, but I don't know how to pin it. How to pin the website?
I don't either.
I don't know. I put it in the comments and I try to hold it down. It's not pinning it.
Let's see.
Maybe you can pin it? Can you pin it?
Let me try. NAD. It's nadconcierge.com.
Yeah.
Oops.
Here, I
gotta spell
sent it to you. You can copy it from there.
Oh. Post. And then what if I hold it down?
That's what I try to do, but
pin. I got it. I did it.
Oh, yeah, cool.
It doesn't have the www and everything, but I think it should work.
Okay, nice.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Well, we have another few minutes. We have like about 5 more minutes, right?
Yeah.
We have some more questions.
Yeah, we have some more questions here. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just scanning through. Yeah, where you can buy in Germany, unfortunately, I have no idea. I know that there was no NAD here in Costa Rica until I brought it here. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know with other countries. Yeah, and somebody's asking again about the evaluation of the quality of the NAD and where to find a safe clinic. I wish I had a really lovely response for that. And maybe I will eventually. Maybe there's some way that we can actually start getting some way of, databasing and just sort of figuring out these different clinics. But as of right now, I don't know.
Oh, Kratom. Yes. I was just talking to our colleague who does NAD treatments, and she's just getting some amazing results with Kratom.
Yeah. I actually just worked with one of her clients who's on a ginormous dose of Kratom, and he's just starting his protocol right now.
Yeah, I think the same person we're talking
Yeah.
about, because
Yeah.
they're like 2 days out and they're getting amazing results.
Yeah.
Where she's like, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Someone asked me for my name, I think. Zainab is my first name. Demir is my last name. Zainab Demir.
And I forgot to mention, Zainab is a holistic psychiatrist at Free Range. So I'm the founder of Free Range, and she's a holistic psychiatrist that works at Free Range.
Someone said, can teens take NAD?
Yes, it's actually safe for children, I think basically of any age, and also including during pregnancy. In fact, there are, I think, a few studies that show that NAD levels drop precipitously during pregnancy. So if I had to do it all over again during my pregnancies, if I had known this when I was pregnant, I would have definitely taken it. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I think so it's on.
And someone's asking about how you can heal the OCD. I made a video about this, I think about a week ago. And also, if you click the link in our bio, there is a handout. It says Heal Your OCD. So it is just general recommendations, but these are the actual recommendations. These are actually what we do. So just so you guys know, like if any of you have downloaded the sort of free resources, I'm literally giving you for free the exact protocol that we use in Free Range. So it's, it's all out there. I realize it's a whole different thing. Some people really need to have the support and other stuff, but that information is right there. And then I'll add though that I think I put NAD on that handout, but I would definitely add NAD as part of the regimen of trying to, heal your OCD.
NAD stands for, oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
You go first.
Someone asked, what does NAD stand for? It stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
Yeah. And somebody else said, can panic attacks and overthinking is completely treatable? Yes, 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 and yes. I can tell you firsthand, it's one of the number one things that it does. It's so super good for people who are anxious, having panic attacks. And it really helps to regulate sleep, which often is tied to anxiety and panic attacks. Often people who are not getting enough sleep are the ones that are having so much tremendous anxiety, overthinking, so it definitely helps. And the beautiful thing about, Zainab mentioned this in the beginning, is the other beautiful thing about NAD and using it for something like panic attacks, let's say, is that you can use this biological approach, right? You can use NAD and it can pretty much get away, take away the panic attacks. And then though, now you have this opportunity where you're not like having panic attacks every 5 seconds, where you can start doing the deeper work, which is like, okay, why was I having these panic attacks? Well, what was my body trying to tell me? And you can really go in and, find different traumas and all kinds of things that, like what might be going on, and also start to utilize and learn like breathing practices and yoga and grounding practices and all these other things. But like sometimes people are in such a acute state, and this is what both Dr. Demir and I see a lot at Free Range. People don't come to us just like mildly, they often come to us like really, really, really not doing well. And so our approach often in the beginning is to just use something, a healthy biological thing, so that we can get them into the state where they can then do the other things that we recommend. Yeah. Because I know it can feel overwhelming. And, and that's why I know sometimes when I post videos about, like meditation and this and that there are some people that are like, I can't even like open my door. How am I going to meditate? And that's true. That's true. There are things that need to be done and addressed to get you to that point where you can do those things.